And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate y'all for being here, boy. Brian, you should have saw the comments, boy, and the chat, boy. They was mad at me for wanting to lose to Tampa Bay. See, it's funny when you get mathematically eliminated, and I go, all right, put Deuce Vaughn out there to at least see what we got.
Sure.
And now they get mad when I start talking my draft rhetoric, which is cool, man. I love everybody, and I appreciate y'all for having an opinion on us. Man, Brian, I wanted to ask you something. A couple of things there, especially about this film yesterday, man. I know it's a bunch of young guys, Bryan Broaddus. So let's just do a little bit of this. I got some names.
Yeah.
I got 5 young guy names. And I want you to give me a rundown on how you think they did yesterday. And what does that mean for the big picture of who this kid is moving forward? How about that?
Sure.
Man, Brian, Maris Liufau.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about a complete linebacker day for him. I saw him do some cool things in the run game. I say, damn, Brian. I saw him do some cool things pass rushing wise, got some good pressures, especially at the end of the game. Relentless rushing guy getting down upon Baker Mayfield like that. But I also saw him in coverage. You know, Baker's gonna read and he's gonna look in one direction and come back real fast. I think towards the end of the game, Liufau figured that out, so he started taking away receiving options when Baker Mayfield would look one way. So there would be a crossing route here, and Liufau would read it well, or somebody would go behind him and Liufau would kind of take that guy away. Brian, what you think about Liufau, him stepping up as an older player, and what's that mean for his outlook moving forward?
You know what? The one thing that you're going to learn as being on the draft show is that day 3, you get a chance to interview coaches, scouts, kind of try and dig into a little bit. There was not a guy that came on air with us on day 3. And I think we interviewed 4 guys, coaches, scouts, and every one of them was so excited about Maris Liufau. And, I think that, Mike Zimmer, the coaches really, really liked him. Scouts liked him. They were looking for ways to get him on the field. And initially it was going to be as just a base player, a base defensive player. And, they didn't play a whole lot of base, but they play enough to get him some reps. Him playing last night, I thought he did a really fine job. And it didn't look too big for him. It hadn't looked too big for him all year. He's around the ball. He can tackle. He could blitz. He could cover. He's got some of those complete game traits to him when you watch him play. And they loved him. And all I kept thinking about Voch was, this kid is my running back. This kid is my running back. When I look at this kid, I'm thinking, okay, let me see who the running backs are in the league, that was drafted, with around that time when he was selected. And I'm always going to have that comparison. I'll tell you what, the more I watch this kid play, the more I realize that they had this kid right. And I think he personally is only going to get better. I think he's got really good awareness. He plays downhill, as you mentioned. You can use him in a lot of different ways. I think that they had an idea of the type of player that they were going to get. But I think they also now realize they probably got more than they even thought they were going to get. So I think they're as they always would say, the arrow is trending up for him as a player for you next year. They're going to need him. They're going to need to draft. They're going to play with a young group of linebackers next year. Yeah. I mean, they're going to have to, unless they go out and find another Nick Vigil. By the way, Nick Vigil played very well for you yesterday too. For somebody that doesn't practice because he's always got a foot problem, for him to go out there and play, he played at a very, very high level for you yesterday in that football game.
Yeah, I agree. Just watching Liv, like he looked comfortable out there, Brian.
Very.
Like there was a lot of times where he was just in open ass space and he didn't make panic movements. He didn't do a bunch of looking around. Like he made his reads. Sometimes he'll get caught up in a low block or something like that or whatever, but he'll hang in there with the block. I think as a whole, the defense had really good sound run defense yesterday. Right. And I was really proud of them to see that.
Yeah, they had a third down. They had a chance. No, it was the fourth down play. It was the fourth down play that early in the game that the Tampa tried to run, and the ball gets the fourth down play went inside to Shepard. There was a third down play that was a swing pass that went to White. They started him on the left side. They swung it all the way to him on the right. They tried to run like kind of a double screen. And Liufau got out in space, as you mentioned. And he was able to occupy White enough and to make him have to start again. And it got everybody over. And then AO knocked White out of bounds short of the sticks, and they had to punt the ball. That's the kind of things, with Liufau, him in space with a back, tying the guy up, those are the things that he is always very capable of, being the right place, right time guy.
Bryan, what you think about Marshawn Kneeland yesterday?
You know what? I liked Marshawn Kneeland in a couple of different ways. Marshawn Kneeland is one of those guys when you could use him as a rusher, and you know what? He's getting better at that. I was really worried about him coming into his first season of not being a very good pass rusher. Yeah. I think he's gotten better at it. I think he understands how to attack blockers. He can play both sides for you. I think he's a good run defender. He could use him on twist stunts, run stunts. He's going to get to the ball. He's going to chase. He's going to take on blockers. He's going to make plays for you that way. I think some of his best football is actually ahead of him. I know they thought about this as your potential replacement for Tank. This might be your potential replacement for Golston too, and so he's got a future where this could be a starting edge rusher for you. Him, Golston, Lawson, those guys yesterday played really well. We talk about Parsons and what Parsons does, but man, you had some of those guys step up behind, and guys like when Parsons is on the field, guys like, Kneeland and Lawson, those guys stepped up as well and made some plays. And I really do like, I was, like I said, very nervous about him developing as a pass rusher. He has calmed a lot of my fears since he's been back on the field.
Watching Marshawn, he was another player that just had a good amount of comfort in him yesterday. And honestly, I wonder, Bryan, if how these young guys play, will that dictate how we move forward with some of these older guys?
Yeah. I think you will. Yeah, I think you will.
What does Liufau mean to the rest of the big picture linebacker wise? What does Marshawn, because, Tank Lawrence is a free agent guy, right? So you watching Marshawn Kneeland and you looking at him like, all right, let's see if he's playing well enough to where we could possibly save some money on this Lawrence thing. I think that's a real life conversation that we're going to have in this offseason thing, Bryan Broaddus. But, I think you need as many of these edge dudes as you possibly can. What do we do with Chauncey too, Bryan? Because Chauncey he's just flipping it too, and he seems to be a guy. So Bryan, do you save that D-Law money and just say, all right, we're gonna keep Kneeland and bring Chauncey back, and that's gonna be our Tank Lawrence solution type thing for our run game type stuff and sometimes pass rush stuff?
I'd be totally open to that.
Yeah,
I'd be totally open to that. I think, and you and I have had this discussion before. They figured out that Chauncey Golston is an end and not a defensive tackle. Now he can play as a defensive tackle, but if he's playing 40 snaps, you don't want 30 of those to be as a defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. You want him playing out on the edge. And, his strength is impressive. I think he's gotten better as a pass rusher. His ability to find the ball, to make plays in the pocket, not to stay blocked. There was a problem there for a time where he was always getting blocked. I think the more that he's played, the better he's got. I think you could say that for a lot of these guys we're about to go through. Sure. Mike Zimmer has done a good job with these guys. I think these young players, and I'm calling them young, but they're 4 and 5 year guys. Yeah. They're finally playing to a level that when you drafted them out of Iowa, that you thought, okay, well, this guy is, I swear to you, I thought that I thought that Golston was the heir apparent to Tank.
Yeah.
And now the heir apparent to Tank appears to be Marshawn Kneeland. You know, we've gone through a cycle now where you're likely to lose. I would, if you gave me a choice between Golston and say Oso Digizua, that's really not very close. I think I'm taking Osa.
Yeah.
But I really do respect the fact that Marshawn Kneeland finally found a home, play in one spot, and played at a high level for you defensively.
I was definitely going to ask you about Osa. You know, we have this conversation every 3
Huh.
weeks or so,
Huh.
and you know, I guess it always comes down to it depends on how much money Osa wants, I guess. But
Yeah.
he's showed up to play these past couple weeks, man.
You know, we've talked about the overthecap.com and the player evaluation.
For sure.
And I ran it by Stephen Jones, you know, and they're getting 16, 17 million dollars of value out of the way they're playing with him.
Yeah.
You know, if he's a $17 million a year player, that's going to be very, very difficult for the Cowboys to deal with.
Sure. You know, Carl Lawson not a young guy, but I just wanted your thoughts on him. You know,
Yeah.
I think we're in a weird spot because with the game that we play with the overthecap.com or whatever, yeah, we talk about these guys that are making like right around $1 million or whatever, but they're playing for much higher than that. So these guys like Brock Hoffman, Carl Lawson, Rico Dowdle, it's likely they're not going to come back because the Cowboys are going to have to pay them money, right?
Right. Yeah, I think the thing with Carl Lawson, tip of the cap with Will McClay and you know and those guys over there, the scouts, the pro scouts, they've had some times where we kicked them in the junk about the Don Terry pose, and you know they've had some big ass swings and misses. This round of guys seems like that they hit some home runs on some of these guys. And Carl Lawson, when you and I talked about Carl Lawson at training camp, remember how they were just throwing a ton of bodies at positions and kind of hoping for the best. Carl Lawson for the Jets was a much better run player than he was a pass player. Carl Lawson has kind of turned back the clock. I think Mike Zimmer has something to do with that, to how he uses him. I think having Mike on the field and also, you know, with Osa, even throwing a little Mazi Smith mixed in there every once in a while. But Carl Lawson has turned back the clock, and they're playing to his strengths, and that's his ability to be able to rush the passer. And is Carl Lawson going to? Let me ask you this, though, Voch. Let me ask you this. Okay, from what you've seen, and this might be easy for you, I don't know if it is. From what you've seen, Carl Lawson or Fowler as a player?
Do you think Lawson has more run game in him?
Yeah,
I think that's probably what it'll come down to. Fowler's like a 6 or 7, 8 sack guy.
He's got that many. Yeah, he's done a great job with the Commanders, but I just wonder what you saw from Fowler as a Dallas Cowboy. Take out the Commander aspect.
Sure. Well,
take out the Commander aspect, but
yeah.
You know, but
Fowler as a Cowboy was a liability in the run game. Yeah. he was a liability in the run game. And honestly, Brian, I think there's another level that this defense hasn't gone to, and it's all right. The offense is 100% going, and it happened early, so we get to play the rest of the second half, you know, just pass rushing and all that. So just imagine what Carl Lawson would look like if he had a whole half in a couple of these games just to pass. I think there's another level there. Man, I don't want to be prisoner of the moment guy and say that I would rather Carl over Dante. I think that's how I feel. But I just think it comes down to, at the end of the day, teams will just still try to run the ball on us, and I think Carl Lawson is a better run guy than Dante was.
Yeah, I think that if you talked about overall pass rusher, I'd give it to Fowler. More complete player, I think I would give it to Lawson.
I agree.
Is what I would do.
I agree. Man, Brian, you think Mazi Smith has gotten better, or you think the
No, I think he has.
The competition.
I think he has.
Okay, so please tell me.
No, I think he has. And you know, yesterday, that very early in that game, I was sitting next to Zach Wolchuk, my radio partner in the press box, and Zach's like, "Gosh dang, Mozzie's getting off the ball. Mozzie's being disruptive. Mozzie, drawing a holding call. Mozzie drawing a holding call? What? You know, I think that Mozzie. I'm not going to say he's completely turned the corner, but Mozzie is no longer a liability. He's not a liability. He he's had some success. I'm sure they're coaching him hard still, but he's not having these make one play and then take the next 7 plays and not be a factor. I think Mazi Smith, his understanding of where now they will tell you there's a couple of guys that need to work on maturity. This was very early in the season. Mazi Smith was one of them, and Tyler Guyton was the other. They needed to work on some maturity. And I think for where Mozzie's been to where he is now is I'm not going to call it remarkable because he's always been a capable player. He just hadn't been a capable player in the National Football League. And I think we're starting to see some and I'm not going to call it flashes because he does it more than just flash. And when he gets an opportunity to play, you see him, he was a captain in that game yesterday. I know Mike has a rotating system of guys and stuff like that, but Mazi Smith was a captain yesterday, and the first part of that game he played like he was a captain of your team.
Captain Mazi Smith, crazy, ain't I? I didn't know.
And think about that. No, I mean, but usually the word tied with Mazi Smith is bust.
Sure.
No, when you talk about Mazi Smith, you usually say bust. Yeah. And Mozzie's not a bust. Mm-hmm. Needs to get better, but he's coming off the ball. Stance looks better. He's more physical. He can be a hard guy to block. They use him in the twist game. He is far from being a bust. He is playing at a nice level considering where he was at.
Bryan, let me ask you about this young guy, man. This is a loaded question, Bryan Broaddus. I hope you're ready for this one.
Damn right, it's a loaded question, as you would say. I
hope you're ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
We always look at DaRon Bland like he's cornerback too. We just say that because Trey was here first,
Yeah.
We just called DaRon Bland cornerback too.
Got picked on a little bit.
I picked on a little bit.
Yeah.
And Bryan, I still think he displays some cornerback one in him, but
he does. He absolutely does. Absolutely does.
They clearly
that was a big time play he made at the end of that football game.
100%. Bryan, do you try to keep both those corners? I'm talking about Trey and Bland. Do you maybe keep one to save money on the other? Does Bland make you feel good enough to full time without Trey? Because I know when, the last season when he broke the record for pick sixes or whatever, right? It was like, all right, cool, but good thing Gilmore is here,
Yeah.
Is there ever a point where you feel like DaRon Bland can play to a level to where we're not looking for another cornerback to pair with him, that Bland could just be a guy for you?
You know what? I have the utmost respect for Bland. I love the way he battles. I mentioned that final play he made in that football game last night. To listen to him describe what he saw that takes awareness. And to go out and execute what he saw with White flagging the ball, trying to get the ball tucked. And you watch that thing on tape, Bland doesn't even go for the tackle. He goes for the ball. He says, you know what? I'm going to lower my head. And I'm going to try and take this ball away from this guy. He didn't even try and rat. I mean, he went right for the ball. And that's awareness. That's a guy that's very, we talk about the turnovers. We've seen the pick sixes, the interceptions, the things that he's made in his career. That was a big time football play right there. That was a lot of awareness, what he showed to win that game for you. I personally, I'm starting to have some issues with Diggs. And I'm starting to have some issues with Diggs because I'm not sure about how good his health really, really is. And, there was some questions about his rehab. I know some people have taken some shots. No, he works hard, this, that, and the other. just going to say this is going to be a very long process for him to bring it back. If he were to rehab like he did for this other injury that he had, I don't think it's going to go well for him. I really, really don't. And I know there's some people that are probably going to clip this and say this, oh, you don't know what the F you're talking about, that kind of thing. But let me just be real honest with you here. I got a lot of people I know in that building,
Sure.
and so if something's happening in that building, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of it. But he is going to need to attack this rehab like Overshown attacks his rehab.
Yeah.
He's going to need to be that on point. And so I'm nervous because I don't think the first rehab went particularly well. We saw him out there playing, but there were some problems. But, these things happen. I don't know if Diggs can still be a healthy player. But here, Bland got hurt, missed a lot of the season himself. But I would, if you gave me an opportunity to take Bland or Diggs, I'd take Bland. If you said one or the other, I hope you could keep both, but I do worry about Diggs, and I do worry about the second rehab. Not going to lie about that.
Fair enough, sir.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
How do you feel? You a Diggs in the Diggs camp, or you're in the Bland camp right now? I'd love to have them both, but just being honest, I do worry about the rehab of the knee.
I would love to have them both. And I don't want to just hop off the couch one day and be like, yep, Trey Diggs doesn't have it anymore. I don't want to be that guy. He's been hurt for a while, so I think he's recently not in our memory of being totally healthy. I mean,
you didn't have him this year.
Didn't have him this year before. You just did. So it's been a while since you had him. I don't want to be so in the moment that I forget how good Diggs was. But
good player.
If he can't stay healthy, I think that's a real conversation. Now look, Bland got hurt too. Bland got hurt this
year.
Sure
did.
I think those situations are a little different. I like Bland though. I really like Bland though. And I think if you run into an issue with either or, even if Diggs may be the better player, I think you may keep Bland. You may hold on to Bland and just kind of build around him. I think it's a tough question though, and it's
a really tough question. It's a very tough question because you want to believe in Diggs because you've seen it.
Yeah,
you want to believe in Diggs. Diggs has had, but Diggs right now is the last 2 seasons he has not been available for you.
You know what the problem is, Brian, is that we still live in this world where we want the Diggs that got like what was it, like 10 picks that year, like he broke he broke a record. It was like 11 picks. You want that Diggs with the Deron Bland that broke the pick 6 records.
Sure.
You want those guys. And if you had to ask yourself which of those seasons are better, I know Bland broke a pick 6 record, but that last Diggs season was special. Like that
absolutely.
That 11 interception Diggs season was special. I just don't want to forget that, but that's a tough one.
I want him to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I want him to prove a lot of people wrong, that he can show up and battle that surgery and rehab like we've seen others. And we'll see. That's the unfortunate thing that, you're right. 2 years removed really from seeing him play meaningful football. There has to be a concern there. There has to be.
Brian, probably my last one. Why is Tyler Guyton and Chuma, are they just rotating? What's going on with that? Why is Tyler Guyton?
It's really not a rotation. They're playing Chuma. They're going to try and finish this thing. They're going to try and finish this thing 9-8. Is what they're going to do. They're going to try. If this is Mike McCarthy's last campaign, 9-8 looks a hell of a lot better than 7-10. Looks a whole lot better. So I anticipate Chuma Doga will continue to get work. Not get work. I anticipate Chuma Doga will continue to start at left tackle. And they'll get Guyton in there when they can get Guyton in there. And Mike McCarthy, he's got to look at this a couple of different ways. if he plays with Adoga and they have success and they win games and he gets to keep his job, then that's fine. If they don't win games and he gets let go, then it's not his problem. It's the next coach's problem that having to deal with figure out between Guyton and
Sure.
figure out between Guyton and Adoga. So, he's going to play the guys that he wants to play, that he knows will show up every day and be professional about their job. That's what they're going to do. They're going if they're going to be shown the door, they're going to play the players they want to that give them the best chance to win so they can potentially keep their jobs. But if they lose these games and they didn't get any reps for Guyton, that's somebody else's problem. That's not their problem because they won't be here to coach the kid. Can I ask you a question about something? I was thinking about a cap question.
1,000%, sir.
The Cowboys wouldn't be, and this is just, I'm throwing it out there. The Cowboys wouldn't be okay with winning and giving up draft spots, knowing that how much slot money they have to pay for certain players. Say if you're picking at 6, that slot money is different than paying at 18.
Yeah.
You don't think that's not a possibility, right?
I hope
I'm
not.
sitting there thinking,
I hope not. Because at the end of the day, your objective is to get as many dudes on this team as possible.
I agree. But
Yeah.
I wonder if they're okay with like, sure, we'll pick it 17. It's no problem. We feel like we draft well enough. We'll be fine. We'll be right there. We'll get a very competitive player.
Well, see, that
But
I don't like because, you will get I have faith that they
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know
Sure.
I'm just saying, I wonder if they're okay, and they're always okay with winning because that's their objective, to win. But every win takes you further down the board.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, instead of picking, I think Marcus Mosher, I want to give him credit. I think because Eric Chiafalo was talking about today, he ran some simulation, and the simulation kept saying that Dallas was going to pick somewhere between 12 and 13. The simulation kept coming back. Dallas is going to pick between 12 and 13. Okay, that's fine. But I wonder if there's a side, if all of a sudden, there's no Jalen Hurts this week and they mess around, play some real good run defense, find a way to beat Philadelphia, then find a way, and they finish this thing 9-8, and then they're picking 17th, 18th, somewhere right around there. Wonder if the front office is like, fine, we're okay with that just because of slot money. It sounds ridiculous, but it makes you wonder sometimes.
Especially this is an organization that's trying to get great players for cheap money, as cheap as they could possibly get them.
Yeah, here we got a Leighton Vander Esch at 17 and got this, and this out of him. That kind of thing.
I just feel like, man, when you have an opportunity to get a dude, go get a dude. Because at the end of the day, right, let's just say the Eagles, right, they have Jalen Carter. Okay, they could have went 7 picks back and got a cheaper good player, but you got however much 10th overall.
The Eagles would never. Carter. I was just throwing it out there on the Cowboys. I know nothing about that. I just was wondering your opinion because it was one of those thoughts that came in my head that, like, slot money at 6 is different than slot money at 17 or 18.
If they want to win games and they end up getting a worse draft pick that way because they just won games and fought hard for it, I would feel better about that than for somebody to come out and be like, oh yeah, they trying to save some money, so we'd rather go with James Pierce than Abdul.
No, they're trying. Yeah, they're trying to win games. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying they're probably comfortable picking slot money at 17 than they are at 7.
I'm willing to bet, Brian, at the end of the day, they feel so great about who they are as as drafters.
Drafters, yeah, that's what I was saying.
They probably feel like, oh man, we're gonna get a hell of a player at 17 overall, because we've heard them feel that way about the 25th overall player or the 27th overall player.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're gonna feel really good about that player. But me as a realistic type character, I think there's a line where the really, really good dudes get cut off, and then we just go to the regular good dudes. And they'll be fine with James Pierce or Will Campbell or Malachi Starr. They'll be fine with that. Because at the end of the day, if the Cowboys win games, then they'll just say that they were right in the first place.
Yeah,
they're right.
Yeah. I just wonder. I mean, we all want to draft in the best spot, but also you're looking at a team that kind of likes to do it on the, and you can't really say the cheap, because they pay the quarterback $60 million and they pay a wide receiver $35 million. I was trying to think. I asked Eric Chiafalo this question today, and maybe you would know. I think he named a couple of them. What teams in the league have a $50 million quarterback, $25 million wide receiver, and maybe another $20 million player or $25 million player on defense?
I think not a receiver, but Kansas City, they got Patrick Travis and Chris Jones, maybe.
Okay.
I think that's as close as you may get.
Like the Dolphins probably got the Dolphins with Tua and Hill and maybe Ramsey.
Ramsey probably costs a lot of money.
See, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. How many, is the sample size of having all those guys large enough to where we can know, okay, this is how you build Philadelphia quarterback?
I don't think Jalen Hurts is breaking the bank though. I think he has a relatively friendly contract, but he got a lot of guys around him that's so like it's him and two receivers and a running back and a bunch of offensive linemen got some money, but not like a.
Yeah, I just wondered if what's the, because we were trying to have a discussion. Can you build a team if you have a high end quarterback, a high end wide receiver, and maybe a high end defensive player? And we were wondering if the sample. I mean, I need to go through and find that out and look at all, look at over the cap and say, okay, these are the three highest paid players on this team. This is the three highest, But I was just curious, because are there teams that are building with those three guys in place and are having success?
I don't think you're gonna see many of them, Brian. I don't think you're gonna. I'm just looking at some guys. Like if they got quarterbacks, they don't have receivers. Like I'm looking at some. I mean Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Donald is gone. So maybe not. Maybe not. So.
See, I just was wondering, because we were just trying to talk about, because Eric and I's discussion was about, if you're paying a quarterback this, and I was like, well, how about the other positions? Are they gonna, is that keeping you from building a team? And I just wondered if the sample size of everybody having, could San Francisco be that way? I mean, let me just look it over the cap real quick, and because I think I don't mean to bog us down here,
please.
But I was just curious about, in team building. Buffalo.
Josh Allen makes a lot of money, but Diggs is gone, so he doesn't have a high paid receiver. Cooper is cheap.
Yeah. So, well, here's Allen. Okay. Allen's cap number is $30 million.
Yeah.
So their expenditures, their next highest offensive player is Deion Dawkins at $11 million.
Yeah.
So they don't have a high price receiver, like you said, but they got Von Miller, and Von Miller's making 14.8 is what his number is.
Sure. I think it's gonna be tough to do, Brian. I think it's gonna take some hellified drafting and some hellified cheap players like stepping up or whatever. But I don't see a world where you say no to CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons. I don't see where you just let those guys run free.
Okay, here's the Dolphins. Hill at 31. Tua at, we'll see, Tua's number this year is 9.5. So he's, Waddle's at 9. Ramsey's at 7. So Ramsey's not as high as I thought he was going to be. I thought Ramsey was like a $20 million player.
Brian, do you think it's going to come down to Dak being in his third year where the cap goes up and the quarterback market bumps him down to where his dollar amount wouldn't be as high as it is his second year getting paid or whatever? Like maybe that's what's going to have to happen because Josh Allen, if he's making $30 million, then he's probably due for new money soon.
Yeah, that's what I was. There's a lot of these guys I thought were already $35 or $40 million players already. Mm. So, yeah, well, they took. When you want to know who the highest paid, the highest paid player is on the Cowboys active roster right now. That's active and not on, injured lists and stuff like that.
Who's that?
Brandon Cooks. Mm. Brandon Cooks' cap number is $10 million. CeeDee Lamb is 8.7. Donovan Wilson is 7.3. Terrence Steele is 6.5. Micah Parsons is 5.4. So, I mean, it's interesting. I need to go through this and see how these teams are built. But who are the highest? Can you do it with two offensive players and the defensive players? How are they team building with their, what team has maybe the best model doing it that way? I probably think Philadelphia, maybe. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail us there.
They got it figured out. Whatever the hell they doing over there.
Philadelphia has it figured out. They sure do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, never mind. I'm not going to look. I don't mean to derail us. I'm sorry.
No, you good, bro. Go ahead because I was basically done asking questions though. What you got?
No, I was just curious because I was wondering. I'm going to look at Philadelphia now, and just because we just seems like that's the team that kind of seems like they're always at the cap, near the cap, whatever. And here we are. They're winning a bunch of games. Mm-hmm. Just a second here. Okay, here they are. Lane Johnson's cap number 15.8. Hurts is at 13.5. AJ Brown's at 11.8. Jordan Mailata is 11.6. Darius Slay is 10.6. Devontae Smith is 8.1. Jeez, I mean, here we are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They've kind of figured it out and made it. Jalen Hurts, like if you were to cut Jalen Hurts, say after this year, like they're saying it's $120 million cap hit, dead money. So anyway, they like I say, look at they're taking advantage of those guys' salaries for sure, because they don't have a $50 million quarterback, I guess.
Man, you are not making the anti-Dak crowd happy here, and Cooper Rush out there. Cooper Rush out there throwing the ball around.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I took us down a path, and I just wondered. If there's a way to how to build your team with a over $50 million quarterback, and then another high and maybe two other high priced positions. Yeah. A wide receiver, maybe a defensive player. I was just curious. That's all.
Oh, you good, Bryan Broaddus? Hey, look, we all trying to figure out a way to get better. And if there's any organization that we trust to get it done, well, the Joneses, Bryan, bro. They gonna find a way, huh? They gonna figure it out. But hey, fantastic conversation, Bryan Broaddus.
Thank you.
I want you to enjoy your holiday. I told all of my people what's going on, so they're not gonna be looking for us. The key word in vacation is vacate. Okay. Yeah. But we'll be back maybe Friday, possible. Me and you gonna talk. Me and you'll definitely talk. But maybe Friday, maybe Sunday. Sure. Maybe Sunday. We'll see. But we appreciate all of y'all for tapping in with us, and y'all enjoy y'all's holiday. Y'all can follow me at Voch Lombardi, but I ain't gonna be tweeting a whole lot until I come back to work. Brian probably gonna tweet and watch film the whole time because he's a maniac and that's what he does. So y'all follow him at BRYAN Broaddus, all right? And we love y'all to pieces, man. Y'all enjoy your holiday and let us know down in the comments if y'all think that Dak Prescott making 60 a year is the problem. And that's going to be the reason why we can't build no damn team right here. Let us know. All right? Crown.